Alright, what's going on everybody? So since the Cannes Film Festival wrapped up a couple weeks ago, I thought what better time than now to start doing some new Oscar predictions. Now I did a way too early Best Picture predictions video back in March, so you'll be able to see where I've shifted on some things since then. And since we have new contenders, new information about a lot of these movies, I am going to be posting a video every week in June on different categories trying to predict the Oscars. Today, obviously, is Best Picture. And just jumping right in here, I want to start with the Cannes films since that just, like I said, finished a couple weeks ago. We have the Palm winner, It Was Just an Accident. Now this is a film that when it won the Palm, it surprised me. I was expecting it to be Sentimental Value, and it's going to be interesting seeing how Neon campaigns all their movies this year. Does Neon only push one, or are they able to get two in? Now, I do think Sentimental Value is going to be their main push. It just seems like the broadest appealing, broadest loved film from that festival, and it seems like it has nomination potential across the board, whereas other films that they have don't really have double-digit potential nominations. I'm not saying that Sentimental Value is going to get double-digit nominations. I mean, I think 7 or 8 might be good for it, but regardless, it has a lot of categories. It has the acting categories, writing, it could win. I expect Trier, to be a director contender as well, not to spoil some future videos with what I'm talking about right off the start here with Sentimental Value, but I do expect this film to be their main push, even though that it won the Grand Prix and It Was Just an Accident and won the Palm. Like I said, it just seems to have the most going for it, and it seems to be the film that the Oscars would love to embrace here. As far as It Was Just an Accident, Jafar Panahi, I think that was a great win. I am very happy that Panahi won the Palm. And honestly, if this didn't win the Palm, if it just won the Grand Prix, I would even be questioning if it was second priority. I would think maybe it was third behind another film we'll get to later. But since it won the Palm, you gotta put it in the conversation. It may not get a Best Picture nomination because they prioritize Sentimental Value, but I do think with it being the Palm winner, you kind of gotta put it in at this stage. I do think there's a chance that because this is second priority, that maybe it's like just getting there on the edge. Like I could very well see this being like Triangle of Sadness, where it's not expected to, but it just gets in at the last second with picture, director, screenplay, and then maybe international, depending on if France or Luxembourg submit this for their pick, because obviously Iran isn't. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with It Was Just an Accident. I'm not fully confident that it's going to get in, but I just think with it being the Palm, you got to imagine that maybe this is the year where Neon finally gets 2 into Best Picture. As far as our other big movie here, not from Cannes, Sinners, which I did a review for when it came out, but I haven't talked about it on this channel since. I loved this movie, and I think this is definitely going to get a nomination. I don't know if it wins or not, but I do think it's pretty safe here. I know some people are still going to get weary of, well, it came out in April, maybe it could fade, but I think this has more in common with a Get Out or Everything Everywhere All at Once, where those just hit so hard into the cultural zeitgeist and people could not shut up about those movies for the entire year. Months after release, people were still bringing those movies up as the best of the year. Sinners is going to be no different. I don't anticipate its momentum fading at all. I do think it would be a little bit of a stretch to say a vampire film is going to win Best Picture, but I do think that it's going to be up there in the top 5 at least. Maybe it can win some big prizes and put itself in contention to win it, but as far as what I think is going to get into this lineup of 10, I don't see a world where Sinners doesn't at this point. Now, as for what I have at number 1, I'm flipping back and forth between Sentimental Value and Begonia. And I think I'm just going to stay with Begonia. I had it at #1 in my predictions video back in March, and my confidence in it has not wavered. In fact, I've only grown more confident about it because now I really do feel like this is going to be Focus Features' main awards push this year, whereas back in March I was still, 50-50 on maybe it's this, maybe it's Hamnet. I think Focus has shown more about Begonia. They've talked more about it. So I just think that this film is going to hit. I think people worried about this being Kinds of Kindness or any other of Lanthimos' films that he wrote are wrong. Because it's not Lanthimos or Philippou writing this film, that's an automatic green flag. I mentioned that back in my video in March, and my feelings around Begonia have only grown stronger. I think that this is going to be a director player, screenplay player, maybe even Jesse Plemons is in conversation to win Best Actor. I think he's going to be great in this film, and because Lanthimos has had some of the most critically acclaimed films of the year with Poor Things and The Favorite, maybe this just ends up being the time that he is finally able to take that top prize. Because let's face it, Poor Things was definitely #2 for Best Picture behind Oppenheimer, so if this one hits and there isn't an Oppenheimer sitting there, I think Begonia has a very good chance, so I'm going to stick with this at #1. Wicked for Good, I remain confident in this getting a Best Picture nomination. I still don't know how it's going to perform in terms of nominations in comparison to Wicked, because I feel like the actors are going to have a tougher time getting re-nominated for their roles. I would love to see it. I loved both of them in Wicked. Trust me, I was not one of the Wicked haters last year. I really liked that movie. So I would be all for it, but I do think that there is a chance that they don't get re-nominated because it is very, 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 very rare for a performance which got nominated in the first one to also get nominated in the sequel. I think there is going to be a little bit trouble with this, like getting all 10 nominations again, but as far as getting in Best Picture, there's no reason to doubt it, I think. I think this is solidly in there. The Academy's still going to love it. It's just a matter of, does it get all 10 again, or does it get 5 or 6? Jay Kelly, this is a film that, I was back and forth with Frankenstein on which one I thought was going to be Netflix's main priority back in March. I've grown more confident that that's going to be Jay Kelly because I just keep hearing great things about this script, about the actors, especially Adam Sandler. And if Adam Sandler is giving a great performance in a Noah Baumbach movie, maybe we're able to get a narrative going that Adam Sandler should win. I'm not saying Adam Sandler's going to win and that's why Jay Kelly's going to get into Best Picture, but I just keep hearing really, really good things about this movie. Like I said, about everything regarding this. I think all of the actors, I think George Clooney, if this is getting in, is probably going to get a nomination. I think Sandler's going to be in win contention. I think the screenplay could be in win contention for Baumbach. Who knows, maybe even Laura Dern gets in again after she won for Marriage Story. And I think stuff like cinematography is even a possibility with Linus Sandgren shooting this. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. I do still wonder if it's too good to be true that a Noah Baumbach movie is going to get in Best Picture and Sandler's going to be win competitive. That just seems like my best possible dream here. And I struggle to see all of my dreams coming true this year. One already has with Sentimental Value. So I am still looking out for maybe this isn't what all the early hype is saying it is, and this falls off and Netflix prioritizes something else. And as far as Netflix goes, I just mentioned Frankenstein. Let's talk about that one. The teaser trailer just came out a couple days ago for that, and I think it looks beautiful visually. The production design and costumes are definitely locked in there for nominations. Cinematography should be as well. We'll have to see if Desplat gets in for score or not. I'm thinking, 50-50 on that. I see people's worries more now than I did back in March, because back in March I was like, I don't know if I'm just not seeing something that all of you are and why you guys are dropping it down. I'm starting to get those worries now that maybe this is just a readaptation of Frankenstein and people are going to go, yeah, that was good, but it's not going to be able to get those number one votes. Like last year, A Real Pain was winning an acting prize, but everyone's consensus on that was 8 out of 10. No one was putting that as their favorite movie of the year, and that's most likely why it didn't get into Best Picture. So I'm just wondering if this is going to be a consensus 7 or 8 out of 10. People really like it, but it just isn't able to crack through. I do think because it is Guillermo del Toro, people are going to go to war for this one in the industry because he is so loved, which that's why I'm still putting it in, but I'm just putting it in low in my 10 because I do see a world where this just isn't able to get the passion above the line. Now, two films here, Marty Supreme and One Battle After Another, are two that I have remained a little bit more skeptical on than most people. A lot of people have both of these in top 5, top 3, and I've kept them out of my top 5 for the vast majority of these last few months here. Marty Supreme, I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident in, and that's because when we were in March, I was still seeing other films that A24 could potentially prioritize over it, but now that stuff starts to drop off, like Eddington we know isn't going to be an Oscars thing, Highest to Lowest we know isn't going to be an Oscars thing, Sorry Baby I still feel is just too small to be an awards priority for A24. I'm starting to see that Marty Supreme probably is going to be their priority. It's not just cause it's their most expensive movie of the year. It just feels like release date and everything. It feels like Chalamet probably going to be in contention again. The originality of this thing is probably going to be there. I can very well see Safdie getting both director and screenplay nominations here. I do think there is the potential that it's just too weird, too not the Oscars flavor, because I still have heard some Uncut Gems comparisons, which if that is the case, if it is like all the way to the max loudness that Uncut Gems was, maybe they do have to shift priorities. But for now, I'm starting to feel better about Marty Supreme than I was a few months ago. And One Battle After Another, I think I've kept in the same place I had it. I think I had it at number 7 back in March. And this is one where I am still skeptical of. I really haven't grown in positivity for it. I haven't faded off from it. I've really just felt the same for this one for the last few months. I do still feel like it being a PTA Leo collaboration, you gotta put it in, but I do just see the world where this thing isn't received as well as the majority of other PTA films are. So if that is the case, maybe this could slip off. We know Warner already has Sinners, and Sinners is probably going to be their number 1 with how universally loved that film has been. I don't anticipate One Battle After Another being like that. I think this is going to be more divisive, so I think it's going to have maybe a little bit tougher of a time. But like I said in my video back in March, it still has enough here. It has PTA. He can very well get director screenplay nominations. Leo might be on the edge. I don't know if I want to have him in or out right now. I think Sean Penn might be the best, most likely option for an Oscar nomination, but I don't know with him, honestly. There's a potential that this just ends up being like director, screenplay, and a couple texts like editing and score or something, and that's it, and it gets into Best Picture that way. So I still feel like there's enough here to predict it, but I am shaky on this one. Now, as far as what I want to have at number 10, I'm between a few different things. Avatar: The Way of Water I had in last time, but I'm starting to feel like, maybe this one just doesn't get in there. It obviously still has a good chance because it's going to be making $2 billion right when voting is happening. Like, this film is going to be front and center in the conversation of movies in December. So that has a big advantage right there already. If this was coming out in October, November, then I think it would have a weaker chance. But because it's going to be right there making them big buckaroos, it's got that chance. But like I said in my video in March, I don't think all 5+ Avatar films are going to receive Best Picture nominations. Is this the time where it falls off, or is it maybe the next one? I don't know. Obviously, we got to take in account of The Way of Water was the first Avatar film in 15 years. Were they just hyped up and passionate about seeing another Avatar film because it had been so long, so they were rewarding it with that Best Picture nomination? Is this one, 3 years after The Way of Water, able to drum up that same support and get rewarded in the same way once again? Because ultimately, this thing's package is Best Picture, production design, sound, and a win for visual effects. So, is it just going to receive the same 4 nominations, or is it going to drop in nominations again? So, I'm really thinking this one might not get into picture unless it's received maybe a little bit better than The Way of Water. If it can get to like a 70 on Metacritic or something, then I would feel a little bit better. But if it's like mid 60s or below, I think maybe not. Deliver Me From Nowhere is another 20th century film, so I think if Avatar just doesn't get there, maybe they can prioritize Deliver Me From Nowhere, the Bruce Springsteen biopic. The thing that has always bugged me about this one is the fact that Scott Cooper is writing and directing this film. I just don't believe in Scott Cooper to deliver a Best Picture nomination. I just don't. Like, his first film, Crazy Heart, Jeff Bridges won Best Actor for that, and it got a couple other nominations, including a Best Song win. But that film wasn't able to get into Best Picture even with the expanded lineup. So, is this one going to be able to just get a little bit more because it's a biopic of Bruce Springsteen? I don't know. And the fact that Scott Cooper hasn't made a film that even came close to touching the Oscars since Crazy Heart, it leads me to believe that maybe this just is like Crazy Heart in that it's an acting player for Jeremy Allen White and either Jeremy Strong or Stephen Graham in supporting. Maybe it gets a casting nomination and then that's it. It's just the actors casting, nothing else. Maybe that's just what this is. I think what I'm going to settle on for my number 10 though is Rental Family. This is a Searchlight film, and just looking at their slate, this looks like it would be their main priority of the films that they have right now. This stars Brendan Fraser in the role of a struggling American actor who goes to Japan, and a Japanese rental company gets him to play various roles in clients' lives. It has Mary Yamamoto and Takahiro Hira in supporting roles as well. And I think this could be a really good, feel-good story, a big crowd pleaser. I think this has potential to be one of the big TIFF premieres that really competes for that People's Choice. So because of that, because I feel like this could be this year's holdovers, it just has that same type of vibe. Between that and the fact that it's Searchlight, I think I'm going to squeeze this in here. And because I have been hearing more about it, more positive stuff about people who've seen it at test screenings. So I think I feel good about this thing maybe being a player this year. Hamnet. Now this is a film that I have dropped out of my top 10, and I feel like I've been seeing that pretty much across the board with people on Reddit and Twitter, just kind of getting less confident about this thing being a Best Picture movie because Begonia seems like it's going to be their main priority. I feel like maybe they just won't campaign Hamnet enough to get this in as well. I struggle to see it being received on the same level. I don't really think this is going to be as critically acclaimed as Nomadland, Chloe Zhao's last Oscar movie, which of course won Best Picture. So I don't really see it happening for this one. I think maybe this just ends up being like Jessie Buckley acting player, and then maybe a couple texts because it is a period thing, maybe like production design and costumes. I don't really see more than that right now. Maybe if it's able to get into adapted screenplay as well, it could sneak its way in there, which is why I have it close. Like, I'm not saying there's no chance Hamnet happens and the lineup I have in my top 12 are the only contenders. No. I'm not that big of an idiot here. I do think this has an absolute chance. I just wonder if this just isn't able to get the same love that Zhao's past work did. The Rivals of Amzia King, this was one that premiered at South by just like a week before I made my video in March, so I was kind of buzzing about this being maybe a bigger contender than people were expecting it to be. I did end up putting it low in my top 10 because I didn't want to get hasty because it was just like the brand new shiny object in the very young awards race. And since then, it's been what, 3 months and no distributor has picked it up. Like, I just feel like this thing's destiny is to get picked up by someone like Bleecker or just another small studio that doesn't have the resources to campaign it for Best Picture. I do feel like, once again, if it gets picked up by a good studio, maybe gets put at TIFF and does really well there, it still has the potential, but my confidence in this one has just been increasingly fading since I first predicted it for Best Picture back in March. Like, it seems like with the reception, with those that really loved it, they loved it. And it feels like, from their words, there's plenty to nominate throughout this film, whether it's the acting, writing, cinematography, editing, the music, both score and song. It feels like there's enough here. It just needs a distributor. And like I said, I'm losing faith in it picking up a good one that can actually campaign it for awards, since it seems like most of the big distributors have their thing. It's really just a matter of, does Searchlight not trust Rental Family enough to pick this up? And I don't know, because I'm hearing good things about Rental Family. So I'm thinking Amzia King just is going to get unlucky this awards season. After The Hunt, this is another one that I had in my 10 last time that I just have lost confidence in. It just feels like there hasn't been that buzz there for this one yet. And I mean, obviously it's premiering at Venice, so it's still got a ways to go. So that buzz can obviously come, but I'm starting to think like, you know what? Maybe when I put it really high in my 10 in March, it really was just me kind of hope-dicting Luca Guadagnino to have a Best Picture movie. This one, it feels like this could just be Julia Roberts or bust. There's a chance that this just doesn't end up happening, even though that I'm sure we all would like it to, because we all want Luca to be back in the awards conversation. But for now, I am losing confidence in this one like I am in Hamnet and Amzia King. Now, The Secret Agent, this won Best Director and Best Actor at Cannes, which is apparently against their rules. The problem with this one is that it is most likely going to be Neon's third priority. Neon has this, it has the Palm winner, it has sentimental value. Honestly, if it was just an accident, won the Grand Prix, and sentimental value won Palm, I would maybe consider Secret Agent to be their second priority since it won 2 awards, but because it was flipped and it was just an accident and won the Palm, that immediately has to be in their top 2. So I feel like The Secret Agent just might end up getting the short end of the stick with Neon, because Neon's never gotten 2 in Best Picture before, so getting 3 in there is going to be really, really, really tough. Now, maybe this one can get the same audience passion that I'm Still Here did, and it can just squeeze in there like that one, but I do think this one's going to have a bit tougher of a time. As far as Neon's other film that's probably going to get left behind as well, The Life of Chuck. We still have to put consideration into this one since it won TIFF last year, but it seems more and more like that this film just isn't going to get in there. Now, I did not put this in Best Picture in March like most people were, because I thought Neon is going to have a successful film at Cannes. And they got 3 successful films from Cannes. There's just no way that Life of Chuck is going to be their priority with such a small nomination package. Like, this thing on its best day would be picture, screenplay, maybe editing, maybe Mark Hamill if this was a main push. It's just not going to be able to get all those. Like, screenplay, it's lone screenplay right now is what I'm thinking is the max with this one. And even then, I'm shaky on that. With The Life of Chuck coming out next week in limited and then the week following in wide, I feel like this film is just going to end up being Sing Sing, but to an even more drastic degree where it just doesn't drum up anything on theatrical release and just gets forgotten about, and those festival films that Neon has get prioritized just like The Brutalist did over Sing Sing for A24 last year. The Catherine Bigelow film at Netflix, her political thriller in the White House that has a real-time element, I'm still keeping an eye out on this one. I actually had this kind of on the edge of my 10 back in March, but since then, I really haven't heard anything about this. Like, we got a rumor that this is maybe going to premiere at a Fall Fest, probably Venice, which makes sense for Catherine Bigelow, but other than that, dead silent on this thing. Netflix hasn't said a peep about it. Trades haven't said a peep about it. So I'm thinking this one is just gonna come and go and not make much of a splash. And since Netflix already has a few other films that seem like they are already stronger on the surface, those are just gonna get the push here. You know, between Frankenstein and Jay Kelly, and then the Edward Berger film, which I'll talk about in a second here, the Catherine Bigelow one just feels like it just might not end up doing anything. Now, as far as The Ballad of a Small Player, the Edward Berger directed film, I still don't feel like this one is going to be an Oscars thing like his last two. It doesn't feel like the subject matter is there. Like, All Quiet was a war film. Conclave, definitely an Oscar thing with the politicking and all of that. Like, it was a thriller in the good sense. This one just about a gambler hiding out in Macau, some people trying to come and get him, and he has a love interest, I think, in Fala Chan in this movie. Colin Farrell, I expect, is going to be really good in this one. Like, I could see maybe him getting into Best Actor here. Maybe it's able to get into Adapted Screenplay because, you know, I don't know how some of the films in Adapted are going to shake up. I think Original has a stronger crop of Best Picture films, so maybe this is able to get, like, actor screenplay and just get pushed in there as well. Like, maybe if Frankenstein just doesn't have that passion, maybe this one does because it's a really good character story and Colin Farrell is delivering an absolutely amazing performance. There's a total possibility that that happens and The Ballad of a Small Player ends up being kind of top two for Netflix's campaigning priorities. So that's possible. I just feel like the subject matter of this one, it feels a little bit too small, feels a little bit not Oscar flavor, so I'm not going to put this in just because it's Edward Berger, but I am still keeping an eye out on it, and I'm feeling a little bit better than I was back in March. So maybe if it's able to keep going in that direction, it comes out, is well received, maybe. Late Fame, this is the film starring Willem Dafoe and Greta Lee. It's about Willem Dafoe, who plays a forgotten poet whose work is discovered by a new generation of artists. And this is directed by Kent Jones, who had a film from, I think, 2018-ish. I'm not entirely sure on the year, but that was really well acclaimed. So maybe this is able to end up be something. And Sammy Birch, the writer of May December, wrote this, so this could be a really good character piece as well. So maybe this is able to be a contender for Dafoe and screenplay, and maybe this could be a thing. My big concern really is that this started shooting in January, so maybe this just doesn't come out this year. And I forget if this actually has distribution yet or not. I don't think it does, so that's another thing that I'm keeping an eye out on. It feels like this has the components that could blossom into a contender, but it does feel a little bit small, so I'm thinking probably not, but like I said, it has those pieces that it could turn into a player. No Other Choice, Park Chan-wook. Now, I think putting this in your 10 at this point, since we've gotten a couple international contenders from Cannes, might be a little bit hope-dicting just because we want Park Chan-wook to be in the Oscars conversation. But this is about a man who gets fired from his job of 25 years and then to get a new job starts killing his competition. Like, this is going to be a genre-y film, and it just doesn't really sound like the type of thing the Oscars would normally go for. The fact that we already have a few international contenders, it's going to make this one have a tough path to actually break into the awards conversation. And after Decision to Leave didn't even get that international nomination, I'm not putting too many bets on this one being anything outside of international. Ann Lee, this is the Mona Fastfold movie about religious leader Ann Lee from the 1700s who had like a cult around her and worshipped her as the female Jesus Christ in the Shaker movement. And this one is going to be a musical, as I'm sure all of you know. I'm very interested in this movie. This is one of my most anticipated of the year. The fact that her and Brady Corbet are co-writing the script just like they did for The Brutalist. I am very excited for this. I'm not going to put every Mona Fastfold, every Brady Corbet film in Best Picture from now till the end of time just because Brady Corbet's last one got in. Like, they make films that they want to make that are divisive. I do think this one could be a big acting player for Amanda Seyfried, could be like score and song because Daniel Blumberg is doing both the score and the original songs. Maybe production design, costumes are in the mix as well, but I just struggle to see this one being a broadly appealing film to get into picture. But who knows? If enough is there with the text and Seyfried, maybe Fastfold can get into director. I don't know. But we'll see when this comes out, most likely at Venice. Die My Love, Lynn Ramsey, starring Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson. This premiered at Cannes to some mixed reactions, I'd say. Some really loved it, others pretty lukewarm on it. So I'm not thinking this is going to happen. Lynn Ramsey doesn't make films that appeal to the Oscars. Like, I know a lot of people are saying that Jennifer Lawrence still can be a contender. I really don't see it with this movie. I think even Lawrence, she might end up getting the Tilda Swinton treatment for We Need to Talk About Kevin, where it's just such a great performance, but because it's in such an isolating Lynn Ramsey movie, it struggles to break through, even though it's great. I do struggle to see a Lynn Ramsey film in general getting into Best Picture unless it is like 90 on Metacritic, everyone loves it, and that's not what this one is. F1, now the reason why I'm still considering this, even though that I definitely have my doubts about this thing, is it's a contender to get nominations in editing and sound. That's all Ford v Ferrari needed to get into Best Picture, and it is the director of Top Gun Maverick, so people are going to be throwing out those comparisons saying this could be the Top Gun Maverick of the year. I don't think so. Top Gun Maverick really dominated the box office in 2022 in the summer because there wasn't very much else there worth anyone's time. So Top Gun Maverick really had months on end to itself with only a few blips in there in the middle in the summer. F1 is not going to have that. Jurassic World the next week after F1's release, Superman the week after that, Fantastic Four a couple weeks after that. Like, F1 has no room to breathe at the box office, and I don't see it being enough of a smash to have some insane legs with all of that competition. So I struggle to see this one carving its own path. But, you know, like I said, still have to at least consider it because of the possibility of editing and sound. The Running Man, Edgar Wright's remake of the Arnold Schwarzenegger film from the 80s. I am excited for this one. The Arnold Schwarzenegger movie is really goofy, really silly, but I have a lot of fun with that. And I think Edgar Wright's style is going to work marvelously with this source material. And honestly, I think Wright could do a better job at actually putting in worthy commentary on totalitarianism and capitalism in this film, because that's exactly the type of stuff that the source material deals with, and I think it could tackle in a slightly more serious way than the Schwarzenegger movie did. So they have the themes right there, and it's going to be great technical filmmaking wise. Like, I can really see this getting a few below the line nominations, and maybe if it's able to do that, be the sleeper success, it could start to rise up the ranks here. Either way, if it does or doesn't become a contender, I am very much looking forward to this movie. Ella McKay, this is the new James L. Brooks movie. It's about the titular character Ella McKay, played by Emma Mackey, who's like this idealistic young politician, and she has to take over the role of her former mentor, the state's incumbent governor. So I think this could have some really nice political commentary. I'm not too sure of the specific details of it, but it did get moved from September to December, which is a very good sign for those looking for this movie to be a big awards contender. I think Emma Mackey would certainly be in the conversation for a Best Actress nomination if this thing does hit and ends up being an Oscars thing. And I know Jamie Lee Curtis, I believe, is in this movie as well, so who knows, maybe she can get her supporting actress nomination that she just barely missed last year. I'm wary of predicting a James L. Brooks movie in 2025. He hasn't had an Oscar contender in a couple decades now. So I'm just shaky on, is this thing actually going to be his comeback to awards recognition? I don't know. I am keeping an eye out on this one, though. The Smashing Machine, the film where Dwayne Johnson finally gets to act for the first time in his career, directed by Benny Safdie, one of the Safdie brothers who directed Uncut Gems and Good Time. I'm looking forward to this just because I am so curious to see Dwayne's performance. Now, the trailer that they released, a month ago or so, looks like a very conventional biopic, which wasn't what I was expecting. And I keep hearing from people who have seen this at test screenings and have heard from others that it feels a lot like The Curse, the Benny Safdie, Nathan Fielder show from a couple years ago. So if it's like that, then I imagine this trailer is just trying to put together the most conventional, broadly appealing marketing they can to get butts in seats. I don't actually think this is going to be just a generic biopic Oscar bait thing from a Safdie brother. I don't envision that being what this is, but, if it is, maybe it has a chance. If not, I don't really think so, but like I said with Marty Supreme, I don't see many films on A24's slate being able to get priority over that. This is really their only other film that I could see actually taking priority if this is a bigger thing and Dwayne is getting a nomination, Emily Blunt's getting one, makeup, maybe Safdie can. I don't know. We'll see. I don't really think this is going to happen for awards, but like I said, this is the only other A24 movie that I could see taking priority over Marty Supreme if it really is that good. Hedda, directed by Nia DaCosta, starring Tessa Thompson. This is based on the famous play Hedda Gabler, which is considered like one of the all-time great plays. I haven't really heard much about this movie. I expect Tessa Thompson to be good in this, but I don't really know what else to expect, so she would have to be really damn strong, I think, to push this into the awards race, but who knows. Caught Stealing, the Darren Aronofsky movie starring Austin Butler, Zoe Kravitz, Matt Smith. I'm excited for this thing. This looks like a blast. The trailer looks really fun. It is an August release date, I think, so most likely just a commercial play, if I had to guess, and not going to be an awards thing, which is perfectly fine. I'm still looking forward to it. And I'll talk about Superman for a second here. I don't really think that this is going to happen. I see some people trying to hope-dict it, but I don't see a Superman movie being here. I mean, we already have blockbusters in Wicked and Sinners and maybe Avatar in here. So Superman would have to be making $2 billion for me to even consider it here. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think it's probably not going to be more than an 8 out of 10 for most people. I expect it's going to be good. I hope it's good. It's honestly one of my most anticipated. I'm really looking forward to it here in a month or so. But I don't really envision a Superman movie in Best Picture. Alright everybody, that's it for my Best Picture Oscar predictions for the month of June. Let me know what you thought of my predictions. Are there some films in here that you think I'm overestimating? Are there some that I didn't even talk about that you have way higher up in your predictions? Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know your predictions for Best Picture at the current moment and where you think this race is going to end up going, the directions it's going to take. Like I said at the beginning of this video, my plan is to have prediction videos on different categories during the week all throughout June, and on the weekends I'll be having movie reviews every weekend because there's something interesting coming out every weekend of this month. So keep an eye out for all of those videos coming. Next one's Phoenician Scheme. Like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for that. I'll see you in the next one.